and that, and secretaries.
Wasn't it your grandfather that was on some of the expeditions with Earl Stanley Gardner?
Yeah, he's actually in Mexico's Magic Square that Earl wrote about their trip from Tijuana to Ensenada across to San Felipe and Tecate, that square. And there's pictures of my grandpa playing poker and whipping everybody's tail feathers at poker and things like that. And camping, and these guys were in their 80s then. And they were camping in these old, funky first generation probably campers before RVs were even invented. And they had these things called grasshoppers that they rode around on, which was sort of a precursor to a four-wheeler. So they were pretty adventuresome old men.
The California border. And then later, down farther in East Cape, southeast of La Paz, Loreto. But I really like the southeast of La Paz area. It's my favorite area in Baja.
I'm not really sure if I do or not. I had a favorite place. Obviously, I came to La Salina and put down roots, and my wife and I had traveled extensively throughout Mexico before we came to Baja, and after we started coming to Baja and before we built our own house.
Oh yeah. San Ignacio. That's my little heaven.
Like the Catavina area, there's a couple of million boulders that might have rock art on it, and we're still on our first thousands.
Yeah, wherever I am. I can't go there. People ask me that all the time, and I'm like, I can't. I love Todos Santos. I love Buena Vista. I love it right here. We stayed last night in La Salina, and we sat there on our patio watching this gorgeous sky and sunset, and that's my love La Bufadora. I just love it all. Mm-hmm. Except for, maybe Guerrero Negro is not my favorite place, but don't tell me.
Well, my recent experience up in the mountains, the San Pedro Martir, was a revelation to me, because I've been so used to the desert and the coast, and to suddenly start going up there into this vast pine forest.
I had New Year's Eve there on the Millennium New Year's Eve, and it was the best fireworks display I ever had in my life. It was just, Terry, being an ex-fireman, thought they were going to light the town on fire. My kids were there, and they just loved it. So, I can't even say that,
This wonderful natural national park in Mexico. And like when I had my dogs, these guys are running free. It's a wonderful place to take dogs, because they can just run to their heart's content and let the coyotes chase them and the mountain lions try and get them. And I just found that was a very special place. I felt very close to God up there, partly because I felt like he was throwing lightning bolts at me most of the time. When you're up there in the summer, which is obviously the best time to be there, you have to deal with a lot of big thunderstorms, and it can get very scary. I saw trees being hit while I was there, and saw several damaged trees around me, and several fires started.
Well, there are a lot of them, but I suppose the place I like the very best is the Comandú. Comandú is isolated from the world by about 40 miles of difficult dirt road, passable but difficult. After crossing the Sierra Giganta, you drop down into this oasis-like valley with palm trees and a creek and green grass. And although the mission has now fallen, the main building of the mission, the chapel, which was the side chapel on the original stone mission, still stands, and it's a beautiful stone building with a vaulted roof in it, and has a lot of the artifacts of the original mission in it, which was the biggest mission in Baja California. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my favorite site, because it's really quite isolated. You're in another world when you're in Comandú.
Yucatan was really the first place that grabbed us, and I think it still is my favorite place to go, mainly because of the variety of things to be seen there. First of all, there's the Maya ruins, which you can hardly walk 50 yards in Yucatan without bumping against an ancient Maya ruin. New ones have been discovered almost weekly down there. It's just amazing. The colonial building, every village has its church, and the cities have a variety of churches, monasteries, and the cathedrals.
But there are places in Baja like Malarimo Beach when I walked around the coast and I was picking up all the objects on the beach. That was a wonderful experience to find bottles of whiskey and packets of food and all kinds of stuff you wouldn't normally think of. I love Mulahey as a tourist town. Conception Bay is a beautiful spot. But there are so many wonderful places. I haven't even discovered half of them, and I just could go back to 1,000 different places, and I hope to do that.
Well, it's a message that I think I approached in my book called Last of the Californios, which was about the people in the mountains of Baja California. It was the sort of the Hispanic presence in California, and what an interesting society it was, and what admirable people. I found them admirable.
Baja is there for you to enjoy. And I think if you go with the right attitude of enjoying and being prepared, I certainly wouldn't try to go to the Santa Maria Mission in a passenger car. But or actually it's probably good in any car today, but it's just depends on what you like to do, whether it's fishing or stargazing. Gosh, you can do so many things if you're an outdoor type. We like to hike, and I don't know, I did 110 hikes last year.
And even after all these years, there's still so much wilderness to find.
Yeah. The San Pedro Martir is, if you like mountains, and the Sierra Juarez and the beach and the desert, it's got a little bit of everything. Just go see.
I'd like the people to have a better appreciation of the Hispanic presence. Of course, that doesn't cover the cave painting book, but the cave painting book is simply to expose people to what I think is a wonderful phenomenon. It's people go to France or to Spain to see prehistoric rock art, which is not arguably more important or more interesting than what you have a lot more of. There's 250 major sites in Baja California.
Wow, I had a really good time, and pretty much thank you for sharing, especially people that don't know Mexico. Wow, I guess that place is great after all. I just want them to come away with a sense of fun and a sense of having deepened their knowledge of the subject, or if they know it really well, just to revisit it.
The books are different. The first one's more narrative, and the second one is more, I guess after the first one, the thought, boy, I've been thinking about going to Baja, now I will. And maybe the second book, more, wow, I didn't know all of that. And I've heard both. I gave a presentation to, after the first book came out, San Felipe Association of Retired People. And I go back to give another presentation, and guys came up to me, hey, guess what? We're going here, we're going there. And I'm thinking, well, that's nice. And then it turns out that the whole reason they were going was because they read about it in my book. I inspired them to do something. And that made me feel pretty good.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that I want to leave a message. I think what I wanted to do, what I set out to do, and I think I did do, is I recorded all the sites, both verbally in pictures and their location by GPS. Some of those sites are going to disappear, and they are going to be able to be relocated with this information. And I suppose the message you might get is the magnitude of the work that the Padres did. And if you read the introduction and the information about the Indians, the astounding tragedy of the loss of nearly all of 50,000 natives that populated the peninsula before the coming of the Europeans.
I think that people who know Baja, when they finish it, they're going to say, right on, I agree with this guy. And people who don't know Baja, maybe they'll say, hey, maybe I ought to check it out. So you got a couple of things going there. And I've heard both. Even this morning I was talking to somebody and a car came by and somebody was asking